Skills are the most powerful technology on planet Earth, and they're the ones that are automating all of your workflows in your daily life, but most people are doing them wrong. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to go from noob level skill builder to pro level skill builder so you can start automating 90% of your life with skills. And this works for both Claude Code and Codex. So let's get right into it. Now, typically, guys, and again, if you guys don't know essentially what a skill is basically a workflow of some sort, right? So, let's say, for example, that I was trying to automate my morning routine. And my morning routine typically looks like, check email, so I check email and draft responses, right? Then we've got, say, I check my, I look at the news, and then I can, from there, then I also, respond to my school community members, right? Or post, let's say I make a piece of content, and then I go content, right? Now, typically, this is a straightforward workflow, right? It's like step 1, step 2, step 3. Now, what skills allows me to do is it allows me to basically create mini workflows that essentially I can just call one slash command. So a slash command just kind of looks like this, right? It's like when I'm in Claude, I just hit slash command and then I go morning. And what that will do is that will then trigger a workflow. So step 1 is to go check my email and draft responses. Step 2 is to go to news. And then step 3 is to ideate all my content for the day. That is my morning workflow. And now all I have to do is just click morning, and it's going to go do all 3 of these things at once. Now, the noob way of building skills is essentially just overloading the skill, right? So let's say so we've got our workflow here that we're trying to automate. Now, typically what I would do is I would just do, in the noob way before is we run the skill, right? We do the slash command and we run the skill. And then what it's going to do is it's going to go in all one giant skill file. So your skills, it's all just a file, right? And in that file, the noob way of doing it would be, okay, cool, do step 1, check your email. Step 2, look at the news, blah, blah, blah. Step 3, do content, okay? The problem with that is that it is a massive skill file. And there's a few issues with that. One is when you call the skill, you're loading in all of the skill and all of the context immediately into the context window. So that it immediately just uses so many tokens, right? Which is a large issue. And then the second biggest problem is that when you're running a skill that's got basically multiple skills inside of it, it's harder to edit. So when you edit it, you have to go in, and Claude's got to go in and edit that ginormous skill file. And inside these skill files, there's literally hundreds of lines of code that it's running and dozens of reference files within the same skill. So you have a very beefy skill file. And again, every time that gets called in and that's loaded in, it's going to take up a ton of space. And you should not do that. That is the old way of building skills, and that is just a great way to just waste a ton of tokens and honestly just get bad results, okay? Now, that's the noob way of doing it. The pro way of doing skills is a little different. So, let's say for step 1, right? So I'm calling the trigger, right? So we've got our trigger here, and then step 2, we've got our what we said here, which is our content, right? Or we've got our check our email and draft responses, and then we go to news and blah blah blah, and then we go to ideating content, right? So again, the noob way is just loading all of these into one skill. What you should be doing is creating something called a skill hierarchy, okay? So instead of creating one massive skill file, what you want to do is you want to turn each one of these mini workflows into its own skill, okay? So an example is look, check email and draft responses. That's a step-by-step workflow. That goes, Claude's got to go in, it's got to read all my emails first, then step 2, so if I go under this, right? So and again, if you guys are not mapping out your workflows, you need to be doing this. But step 1 is to read emails. Then step 2 is to, draft responses. And then step 3 is to basically give me a brief on what's in the email, right? That's like it's obviously there's more steps to that, but like there's a mini workflow inside of a larger workflow, right? So instead what we want to do is we just want to create a email skill. So I would rather just create an email skill here, right? Just like how for my news skill, it's its own workflow, I would create a news skill. And then from there, for my content workflow, I would create a content skill, okay? So each one of these has its own mini workflow that it needs to achieve inside the broader scope of a bigger workflow, okay? Now, again, back to what I was saying with the pro way. So the pro way is we're creating mini skills, right? So you see how we've got a content skill, news skill, and email skill. So again, instead of loading them all in at once, what I do instead now is I take this morning skill it's like the overall workflow, and I build a hierarchy of skills. Okay, so now it sits at the top here. And what this does is when I call it, the first thing it's going to do is it's going to, and I do this in parallel, but for this example, we'll just go in basically a sequence. But what it's going to do is first it's going to call this email skill, and that email skill has a strict workflow. So this acts as like a router. So it calls this skill, then this email skill loads in, it does its job, and then it returns the output to me. I look at the output, I go, okay, hey, that looks good, and then it goes to the next step. Same thing, goes get the news, brings it back, boom, done. It loads that news skill, and same thing with content ideation. It goes, finds all the content that I want to make content on today for my marketing, and then it brings it back to me, and I check it, right? Now, what that's going to do is that's a pro way of building skills, because that is going to allow you to edit these skills much easier. There's a lot less debugging. There's also more of a human in the loop where you get to check the outputs and you can perfect them over time. So then, let's say like the news and the content skills giving me great outputs, right? But let's say the email skills giving me bad outputs. Instead of having to do, again, the noob way of building skills, which is like, all right, I need you to edit this entire skill file and change this specific little part of it, this little piece of code, it's just going to go into the email skill and fix this, right? Same thing with news, content, whatever you do. And also what's great about this is that with I can plug in skills. So I can add another, let's say for morning skill, I wanted to add another skill in there that's just like, text my family skill, like something like that, right? And it's its own workflow. I can plug and play whatever I want. But if it was one large skill, I have to edit the whole skill file. And then let's say I have a hierarchy of 10 skills. I'm loading in a ginormous skill file of freaking 10 skills in one, and that just blows through your tokens, and it's hard to edit. And it just doesn't act as a router. So you basically want to use your main skill as almost like a router to your mini skills in a workflow. That's going to allow you to get way better outputs. It's going to let you save a lot of money on tokens. And ultimately, again, you're just going to get what you're looking for much better than just beefing up one skill alone, right? Like you want to take many steps inside of your workflows, automate the little things, and then have one bigger workflow that just calls the rest of them. But that, guys, is how you go from noob to pro in skill building. So that's everything for this video. If you guys enjoyed it and you want to learn how to build skills to start automating your business, grow your AI agency, or just start automating in general, go click the link in the description, join my community. I give you guys a full breakdown on the skill building, how to build the right skills. You also work with me directly. But that's everything for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, and I will see you guys at the next one. Peace.